And indeed, the lights are out on the pace car. Pace car approaching corner number 12. And following that, it should run, the pace car should drive directly into the hot pits with Bruce Hamilton taking the number 85 through turn 13. And it looks like that's what we got. We're getting set for the start. And they're coming down the front straight towards the flag stand. Starter's got his eye on him. And we do have a green flag. It's the 85 of Hamilton moving out to the early lead, followed by the 94 of Harold. And on the start, coming up from the back, Dirk Leuenberger moves into third, followed by Peter McLaughlin in the 05, the 82 of Ernest Wilding. 55A, Briggs and Umphreys. Also making a move on the start, the 2A of Steve Davison and the 47B of Phil Mulichek. And that pushes Glenn Jividan Jr. in the number 47 back to ninth. And so it is Hamilton out in front, navigating this opening lap. One thing nice about having open wheel cars and open cockpit cars is if you know what the driver's helmet looks like, you can usually figure out who's in the car. And I know if Lynn St. James has that new helmet of hers on, we're going to recognize that. So Hamilton now with a 10.8 second lead over the second place car, 2 laps complete, working lap 3. The 05 of Peter McLaughlin moves up into third, followed by the 2A of Davison in the Aston Martin. 55A Briggs into fifth, and Dirk Leuenberger back to sixth now. He had run third on that opening lap, and now things settling in. Also gaining a spot on the last lap, the 47B, Phil Mulichek. That leaves 8th and 9th to the 82 of Ernest Wilding and the 47 of Glenn Jividan Jr. New leader, the 94 of John and Ryan Harold. In the Chevron B36, the 05 of Peter McLaughlin and Dave Hand moving into second. .55A Bob Briggs with Shaw Humphreys moving into third. And what has happened to the 85 of Hamilton and St. James, as I'm seeing that car work its way backwards. And the car is in the paddock, or in the hot pits, and going through a tire change at the moment. Looks like they're going from the wets to the dries as the Indianapolis Motor Speedway dries out a bit, makes things a bit easier. So your new leader, the Heralds, taking it down the front straight one more time. .55A Bob Briggs and Shaw Humphreys in the red and white Camaro. And that is the 47 of Glenn Jividan Jr. Peter McLaughlin in the 05 right there on the rear deck of John and Ryan Harold. So that is your race for the lead. 1.2 seconds separating them the last time they crossed start finish. And it looks like it's about the same now. A couple car lengths separating the two.
Of course, the SVRA would like to thank some of our supporters that make this event possible, such as Jaguar, NetJets, Harley Davidson Motorcycles, Zenith, the official timekeeper, Hawk Performance, and Hoosier Racing Tire.
And we just got an update from our friends at Jaguar Land Rover. The Jaguar Autocross course is open and ready for you. Once again, you can sign up in the paddock area, or in the garage area on the plaza. You'll see the Jaguar representatives there. They have a stand there with their logo on it. You can't miss it. Go down there and register. 21 and over to get behind the wheel of the Jaguar on the autocross course. They give you some instruction. Davy Jones is an instructor, also Roberto Guerrero and Shea Holbrook, among others. They'll give you some instruction on the quick way around that autocross course. And then if you're 21 and over with a valid driver's license and closed-toed shoes, they'll swap seats with you. You'll get in the driver's seat. They'll sit on the right side, and you'll get a chance to put that car, all 550 horses of it, to use in that F-type Jaguar. The off-road course for Land Rover is not yet open, and that has to do with the rain that we had earlier and overnight. So once the sun comes out, as it appears to be doing right now, and that track gets a little bit more manageable, they'll be able to get the Land Rovers up and operational on the course, and you'll have the same kind of opportunities, some instructional laps, and if you're 21 and over with a valid ID, valid driver's license, and closed-toed shoes, you can get behind the wheel of the Land Rover. 18 years old and a valid driver's license, you'll be able to get in the co-pilot seat, sit in the on the right side, and experience what it's like to have a professional driver whip you around one of those racetracks, that autocross course or the off-road course, and guaranteed a smile on your face, whether you're riding or driving. So please stop by the Jaguar Land Rover booth in the garage area immediately adjacent to the pagoda and sign up. We've got shuttles running at various points around the paddock area that'll take you up to either course and, of course, bring you back. The 47 of Glenn Jividan Jr. is back at it. And it looks like we've got the 85 of Hamilton's and St. James back on course as well. They've got some laps to make up. Your leader, actually the first two cars, the 94 and the 05, working lap number 9. The rest of the field, with the exception of the Hamilton St. James entry, working lap number 8. And the Hamilton St. James car working lap number 6. With 90 minutes to go, though, that's not a bad deal, as everybody's still close enough. We're 15 minutes in, so we've got an hour and a quarter left to play.
A couple of cars out there appear to still have rain tires on there, so we have some different strategies going on. Some maybe perhaps waiting until a driver change before they change to dries, as this track is quickly drying out.
It sure is. I'm surprised they're still out there like that, as there's not that much of a wet area. You look at the line around here, and it does really look dry.
I'd like to invite our fans to visit some of our vendors in the Pagoda Plaza. Lots of neat stuff for fans to peruse and look at. I'd like to thank Indy West Harley Davidson. They're here and they have over 15 motorcycles on display. Of course, Harley Davidson, the official motorcycle of the SVRA. They have a nice lineup of t-shirts and accessories. Pretty much everything that a Harley Davidson rider would need. Make sure you check them out. Also, Randy Owens is down there with his artwork, over 14 original serial-graphs, many signed by Indy 500 winners such as Mario Andretti, Johnny Rutherford, Parnelli Jones, and including last year's Alexander Rossi. Make sure you go see Rick over by the Randy Owens painting and art setup. Also, Victory Lane next door to Randy's artwork with Jim Ame. And he's got a wide variety of photos, posters, and patches. Pretty much everything for any type of racing fan, whether you're an IndyCar fan, NASCAR fan, Formula One, sports cars, you name it, he has it.
I've got one of Randy Owens' pieces hanging in my house from years ago working for Scandia Motorsports, the art cars that Randy designed for the Lights series, the Camel Lights series at the time in IMSA. And he did a piece commemorating those two cars, and very cool. Had that for many years. Autographed by the drivers. You'll find that Randy has limited editions of autographed prints as well.
That one he did from last year's winner for this year of Alexander Rossi just pops right off the canvas. I also like to thank our friends at National Motor and Cycle. They're the king of the speedway and monarch of the road, locally owned company. Make sure you see Matty down there. He's got a lot of neat stuff. Just to peruse what they have down there in both motorcycles and bicycles, and just a lot of neat memorabilia from the teens, 20s, and 30s down there. Make sure you check them out too.
Tell you what, he's got so much stuff down there, he needed 2 garages. So they were even building a bike, a replica bike, on site yesterday.
It's amazing the craftsmanship that goes into that, and just how talented Matty and that group he has working down there with him.
They did the Johnny Lightning replica that was auctioned off, a silent auction for that Johnny Lightning replica of Al Unser's IndyCar winning entry from years ago. And that went yesterday at auction. A very cool bike, the blue and yellow paint scheme commemorating the Johnny Lightning special. And as far as I can tell, street legal. Had a headlight, a horn, had brakes, and a motor. You didn't really need much more other than a tail light, I think, was all they had to figure out.
And a much-needed kickstand, which they said they were going to take care of.
Oh, good. That's good. I'll have to find out what the winning bid was for that, but I know it did go for a sizable amount of money. And all of the proceeds from that auction benefited the Unser Racing Museum in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So if you were contributing to that, if you happen to win the bike, they are a 501c3 corporation, meaning that your bid, your winning bid, is tax deductible. That's pretty cool. And if you'd like to help support the Unser Family Racing Museum, I'm sure you can do that as well. Go online, check it out. And again, it's located in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It was a real treat yesterday to have Bobby Unser up here in the booth helping to call the Pro-Am race. And what great stories and what great information he had. And it was a whole lot of fun. I want to thank Bobby Unser for being here, being our Grand Marshal for this weekend's event. And it was actually an Unser family reunion. Al Unser Sr. came out of retirement to drive in this event. Hadn't been in a car, hadn't been in a race car for about 20 years, he said. Also part of it, Robbie Unser and Johnny Unser and Al Unser Jr., all taking part in the Pro-Am yesterday afternoon. Al Unser Jr. making it to the podium, in fact.
What's nice about the Unser Museum in Albuquerque also shows you the history of the family dating back to Uncle Louie back in the Pikes Peak days, easy for me to say, as well as Jerry Unser, who was actually the first Unser at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway to make the race in 1958. And then also brother Louie, who was quite the mechanic back in his day. And then let's not forget Ma and Pa Unser. And, of course, Ma Unser, for many years, known for her famous chili. He would have chili cook-offs and chili dinners in the infield here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
We're approaching the one-third of the distance. We're at 24 minutes at the moment complete. This is a 90-minute enduro, and your leader, the number 94, John and Ryan Harold, sharing the driving duties. Second place, the 05. Harold, by the way, they're running a Chevron B36, and they're out front at the moment in that red car. Running second, the 05, Peter McLaughlin and David Hand. And that is a 1983 March 832 in second place. 47B, Phil Mullichek, and Mullichek running the Ford GT40 with the 2A of Steve Davison and David Russell. That's the Aston Martin GT4. 55A, Bob Briggs and Shaw Humphreys sitting in sixth place at the moment in the Camaro. And rounding out the field, the number 82 of Ernest Wilding, the BMW M3. 47 is Glenn Jividan Jr. in the Carbier. And Bruce Hamilton and Lynn St. James in the Dallara Infinity, car number 85. And they're working their way back. They made a stop a few laps ago to change tires, get off the rain tires and get onto slicks. And they're now out there working lap number 12, the leader working lap number 15. But again, with an hour and a quarter left and that car being pretty quick, it's, well, let's see, it's about 5 seconds quicker than the leader. Their fastest lap, a 128.7. And your leader's quick lap, a 132.3.
And he had actually pulled out a 10-second lead on that first lap, so there's a little room in there where if he wants to, he can turn up the wick a bit.
Oh, yeah. And they just now passed start finish, working lap number 13 to the leader's lap number 15 as we look at the 47B on the big screen. Phil Mullichek in that red Ford GT40.
Of course, Phil yesterday won the People's Choice Award for his Shelby Cobra, which was parked in the Pagoda Plaza during dinner last night. So congratulations to that group.
And I believe that was the car that Anna Beatrice drove in the Pro-Am.
Yes, it was. Good-looking car, but of course, which Shelby Cobra isn't? And of course, that is an original Shelby Cobra. And I guess if you're a Shelby Cobra fan, that's one of the things you have to put up with is people sometimes may assume, oh, is that a copy? And you get to say, no, that's the real McCoy.
And there's the real McCoy right there, that 47B of Mullichek, the Ford GT40. Coming up on the number 2, or the 2A of Stephen Davison, the Aston Martin. Hamilton one more time, working his way around the racetrack and picking up a couple spots on that last lap. So Hamilton now working lap number 14, the leader working lap number 16, and just in the last couple laps getting around both the 47 of Jividan and the 55A of Briggs and Humphreys.
And Donald Davison was interviewing Phil Mullichek last night and mentioned when was the first time he bought a Shelby Cobra, and he surprised Donald when he said 14.
Holy cow.
14 years old is when he had his first Cobra. Unfortunately, he had to sell it. He bought it for $7,300, he mentioned.
Try that now.
And then, but however, by the end of high school, he had owned 3 more. So he bought one, he had to sell it, and then by the time he ended high school, he had 3 more. So a wise investor, I must say, at that point.
Boy, no kidding. And a man that knew what he wanted, too. I had a friend in high school, graduated a year or so ahead of me, and one of the cars that he had in high school was an AC Bristol.
Of course, you could call that, I guess, the grandfather or the father of the AC Cobra. I mean, are you familiar with that story? Interesting story. And if you're not, a lot of books written on the subject of how that car came to be, and it's just a fascinating, fascinating story. How things are a little different back then.
Oh, yes. Much like the evolution of the Formula Ford series.
Yes.
Nice shot of the Aston Martin navigating the twisty bits of the racetrack here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The road course is 2.42 miles long and consists of 14 turns, and utilizing most of the front straightaway here at the Speedway. Just past the 1/3 mark, a little over 30 minutes complete, and working lap number 18 is your leader, the number 94 of John and Ryan Harold. They are on their 18th lap, the 05 of Peter McLaughlin and David Hand. They are working lap number 17. With the 2A of Stephen Davison working lap number 17 as well. Davison in the the Aston Martin, and he has just pulled up onto the rear deck of the 94 as they're going down the straight into turn 1. Coming through turn 12, the 85 of Bruce Hamilton in the Dallara Infinity. 35, the Dodge Viper, Dirk Leuenberger, getting some added track time to his weekend at Indianapolis. So Peter McLaughlin and Dave Hand in the pits for their driver change in that 1983 March. And as a result, they've worked their way down the running order. Currently shown in 6th place. Your leader is still the number 94 B Sports Racer of John and Ryan Harold, a 1978 Chevron B36. And just coming by start finish to complete lap number 19. The 2A, the Aston Martin, shown in 2nd, completing lap number 18. And now completing lap number 17, your early leader, the 85 of Bruce Hamilton.
Leader working lap 21. Track appears to be getting quicker as the best laps have now happened for most participants in the enduro. Have had their best lap in the last 3 or 4 laps. The 47B is still in the pits. Phil Molachek getting some work done on the car. Looks like they were putting some fuel in the car. As the Bruce Hamilton car moves up into 5th place. This enduro is a 2 pit stop race. 2 pit stops required.
The 94 of Harold still out in front. John and Ryan sharing the driving duties. We've got the 2A of Stephen Davison and David Russell working on that second spot. They're 1 lap back. Your leader working lap 23, second place in the Aston Martin working lap 22, as is the 35 of Dirk Leuenberger, shown in third. And things a bit askew for the number 55. That is Bob Briggs and Shaw Humphreys. And it looks like they got a little tap there at the front.
Yeah, first it looked like it was just a tire issue, but when you see the starboard side of the car there, a little bit of damage.
And it looks like the bodywork rubbing on it. Did you see what happened?
I did not. Actually, it looks like, yeah, he's hit it with both ends, hasn't he?
Yep, been places he shouldn't have. That's always a slow ride back when you have to bring a damaged car back to the pits.
It is a primarily dry track, but there is a couple wet spots out there, and you wonder maybe
Might have found one of them.
Or he was, he might have been just, yielding the way to a faster car, trying to be the nice guy, get out of the way, and then maybe hit some of those wet bits out there.
47B Mulacek in the GT40. And here comes the 55A past our position here in the Pagoda, getting to take a little bit closer look at it. And yes, indeed, both the driver's side front and back have received some damage, pushed the bodywork over towards the driver's right. The 85 of Hamilton and St. James now up into fourth on the leaderboard. John and Ryan Harold in the number 94 Chevron B36, the Aston Martin of Steve Davis and David Russell. The 35, that is Dirk Leuenberger in the Dodge Viper. And Hamilton and St. James, number 85 in the Dallara Infinity. Those are your front four.
Aston Martin also coming in for service.
As Dirk Leuenberger takes over second place with the Aston Martin coming in to the pits. So this will be a good opportunity for the 85 to make up some ground while the Aston Martin's in the pits. Hamilton making a run down that front straight. Now just one lap back, working lap number 23, or lap number 24, as the leader works a lap number 26 at the moment, having just passed over the start-finish line. The 05 of McLaughlin and Hand back on course after their pit stop. Approaching the halfway point. We're at the 42.5-minute mark. 90 minutes the scheduled time for this enduro. The early leader, the number 85 Dallara Infinity of Bruce Hamilton and Lynn St. James, stopped early on to get rid of the rain tires that they had on the car, probably intermediates at that point, and relinquished the lead to John and Ryan Harold, who really haven't looked back as they keep circulating. And at the moment, the Hamilton St. James entry, the number 85, is about 1 lap and 21 seconds in arrears. With Davison and Russell in the pits, Hamilton St. James have now moved into third. And coming down the pit road to make that driver change, the number 94. So let's see who can make up some ground with this car stationary for 5 minutes. Ernest Wilding in the number 82 BMW M3 just picking up a spot, moves into fourth. Driver change underway for John and Ryan Harold.
We should thank our friends at IMS Productions for their nice video work this weekend so we can follow the action around the track.
Yeah, this makes it a lot more interesting. Otherwise, our position is pretty much limited to a portion of the front straight to the left and right of the flag stand. So being able to bring you the action as it happens around these 14 corners is really a treat. And a treat for us in a very selfish manner to be able to see what's going on everywhere. It's kind of like sitting at home watching TV.
Pretty much, almost, and also for our fans in the Pagoda Plaza and that, the video screen there, and when you're visiting our vendors and that all along in the Pagoda Plaza and that, and follow along and see what's going on the track.
And if I'm not mistaken, this is up on flowracing.com being streamed around the world. That's floracing.com. Davison returning to the track, and more than likely with David Russell behind the wheel in the Aston Martin. That's the Aston Martin GT4. So just in the couple laps that have gone by since we spoke about picking up some time while John and Ryan Harold were going through their pit stop, we've got the car of Hamilton and St. James moving into second place. And they are now 2 minutes and 18 seconds out of the lead. And we still have half the race remaining. So good potential there for a lead change at some point.
35 is in of Dirk Leuenberger, the south end of the pits.
And also moving up, Peter McLaughlin and David Hand in the 05. The March 832. And the 85 getting around the 2A of David Russell. So 2 minutes, 18.8 seconds was the gap from first, the 94 of John and Ryan Harold, back to the 85 of Bruce Hamilton, Lynn St. James. And with that car still stationary in the pits, we're going to get a different answer this time, as now they're just one lap back. It was one lap and a couple minutes. So now your leader has become the 85. And the second place car, still stationary on pit road, is the 94 of John and Ryan Harold. And from what I can tell, they still have yet to come in to make their driver change. They just made that early tire change.
And that actually is turning out to be great strategy because this is a two-stop race. And once they make their driver change, they will be done.
So yeah, each driver or each car having to stop twice during this 90 minutes. So Hamilton getting that out of the way early, making that first pit stop to change tires, which was a great move as the track continues to dry out. And now there'll just be the one remaining pit stop that'll allow them to put Lynn St. James in the car. Here they come past the start-finish again. Now working lap 29 to Ryan Harold's lap 27, the number 94 back on course now. Heads out of turn 6 down the backstretch. And right behind him, boy, talk about a carrot in front of you, Here you are retaking the lead in the number 85, and just in front of you is the former lead car. They'd like nothing more than to put a lap on him. Your running order at the moment: the 85 of Hamilton St. James, the 05 of Peter McLaughlin and David Hand, third the 82 of Ernest Wilding, then we've got the 94 of John and Ryan Harold, the 35 of Dirk Leuenberger, the 2A of Steve Davison and David Russell, followed by the 47B of Mullichek, the 47 of Glenn Jividan Jr., and I have a feeling that the 55A, I don't think they'll be returning to the track, but don't quote me on that. Although they might work at getting that car back on the track, because I'm sure they're going to want to race some more today.
They might be running and borrowing a lot of duct tape.
Quickest lap during the race, the front runners, the number 85 with 1 minute 25.9 seconds. Second quick, that goes to the 05, the March of Peter McLaughlin and David Hand with a 28.4. And it looks like Leuenberger coming in for his second pit stop in the number 35 Dodge Viper, as we take a look at the 05 David Hand in the March. And the 85 able to get around the 94 on the back section. Moving through turns 8 and 9. Also making another driver change, the 47. And that is Glenn Jividan Jr. in the Carbier. And they're also taking the engine cover off. Down the backstretch for the 05 March. In second place, David Hand behind the wheel. The 1 hour mark not too far away, as we have your leader working lap 34, second place working lap 33. A couple drivers on their 32nd lap. That would be the 94 of Ryan Harold and the 82 of Ernest Wilding. A couple drivers working their